Breaking news has come in. It is, of course, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for joining us, along with Joe Soro. Breaking news. Lakers, according to Adrian Wojnarowski of ESPN, has reported that JJ Redick this morning agreed to a 4-year deal with the Los Angeles Lakers. Again, it's Gerald Glassford. Truly appreciate you joining us. Got Joe Soro mobile when the news hit, so we truly appreciate you joining us here. I know everybody's like, what's going on? What? Finally happened? Yes, it finally happened. The Lakers have a new head coach. Joe, the podcaster, is in 4 years, and here we go.
So 4 years, do we know the numbers yet?
No numbers yet.
Okay, well, the draft is in a week, and hopefully they start preparing for the draft, and if they indeed keep the pick, I hope that Redick has some input in this so that we can form some cohesion here with the coach and talent that's coming into the team. The Lakers are going to have to hit the lottery outside the lottery on this one. Otherwise, it's going to be a developmental type situation or a bust. So we'll have to wait and see on what happens with that next week. 4 years is pretty much standard procedure. I'm not surprised at that number. Better than 5, I guess, especially considering if this team doesn't get talent in here in the next year or two, he's probably not going to last 2 years anyways. But at least there's some closure here, and we're going to have to be patient and wait and see what JJ Redick has.
Yeah, I can understand that. You were cutting out there for a second, but
no, I didn't cut out. I was thinking about what I was saying.
JSJ, we do have a head coach, and it has been agreed upon in terms. I'm going to mute you here for a second, Joe, because I'm bouncing off you. It is JJ Redick for 4 years. No monetary number yet announced, but it is JJ Redick, the podcaster. So, Joe, we have someone coming in who has absolutely no coaching experience outside of coaching his sons at a much lower level. We've expressed our concern now for weeks on this, but we knew ultimately it was going to happen. And thank you so much, Daniel, for going ahead and subscribing. Your thoughts on this, Joe, as far as his inexperience heading into this?
Ceiling is Steve Kerr. The basement is Luke Walton. That's how I'm looking at this. Steve Kerr didn't coach. However, he was an executive. He was around basketball operations, and he came to a team that was on the ascent. It was ready to win championships right when he came in, similar to how Phil Jackson arrived, similar to how Pat Riley arrived, similar to Popovich to some degree, especially after they drafted Tim Duncan. JJ Redick is in a spot that's not as affluent as those spots. Unless the Lakers somehow magically get at least 2 players this offseason without losing anyone on the team, meaning Rui, Austin, and D'Angelo, and go into next year with at least a couple more players that can be rotational players, preferably one being a big player who can be effective in the playoffs in certain matchups, as well as another perimeter player that can spell guys like Austin and D'Angelo. That is how this has to come about. Otherwise, the team is likely going to struggle to get into the playoffs, and even if they do, it's still going to be a lower seed, which isn't going to bode well for them in terms of winning a championship.
Exactly. The work is just about ready to get started then as far as building a team for JJ Redick. But I guess the relationship he has already in place with LeBron James. Do you think that was a factor? Because it's clear the team now wants to go ahead and try and do what they can to placate to LeBron James even more at this point.
I don't care about LeBron James. As far as answering the question, yeah, that's as simple as I can get. The first question I'm going to ask JJ Redick, and I don't need to do this publicly. I could do it privately. Can you enhance Anthony Davis's offensive prowess? Because no one has been able to do that in the however many years Anthony Davis has been in the league. Because that's the next step. We've already gone through if Anthony Davis is healthy, if LeBron is healthy, if the team starts hitting their threes, they're going to win. Well, we saw what happened with that. It didn't mean anything. So what's next? Well, what's next is they're going to have to use Anthony Davis in a way where there's a massive disadvantage in every game that they play, much like Jokic the last 4 years. He is a mismatch. He's an advantage game in and game out, and he's had MVP seasons because of it. I don't understand how a guy that weighs likely 40 to 50 pounds more than Anthony Davis can continue to play 4 years with as much pressure and as much activity. And I can't. We still haven't seen Anthony Davis play MVP mode. I want MVP mode now. The staying healthy part wasn't enough. You get MVP mode, Anthony Davis, and if Redick can understand matchups and adjust game in and game out, it will work out. The only problem with that is this is NBA players. Will they listen to him? And that's something we're going to have to wait and see.
It's been a while, Joe. It's been over a month as far as since they fired Darvin Ham. Took that long, and the Lakers and their fans went through a long ride in order to get where we needed to get to here today. Something that we saw coming way in advance. You and I talked about it for weeks, much to our chagrin, because we didn't think he was the best option, or the fact the field weren't exactly the best options that are out there, but it is what it is now. I know a lot of people are saying in the chat, is the next domino to fall a drafting of Bronny James?
No comment.
Didn't think you wanted to comment that much on it, because again, it's looking very predictable, and sometimes the Lakers are very easy.
I've seen nothing that points that they're going to draft Bronny James. That's
Not
all media fodder.
Okay.
And
All right.
the only reason why the Lakers hired JJ Redick was because they couldn't get the guys that they wanted.
Well, also here today is a good man indeed. He's
This
munching down.
Buddy,
Go ahead, say it again, Joe. Sorry.
I was talking to Sean. I'm saying this isn't a buffet.
Well, he is just right in the middle of lunch, I guess. It is the Magic Man, Sean Grice. Sean, good to have you here, munching away. I don't know, maybe you're licking your chops at the things that you want to say about what's going on with the hiring of JJ Redick. But your thoughts, man. You're cutting in and out, but hopefully able to keep your audio alive, man. Your thoughts on JJ Redick becoming the head coach for 4 years, supposedly.
Sounded good so far?
Yeah, you're okay. Good so far. Your video is not catching up to your audio, but your audio sounds good.
Okay. This is nepotism through and through once again, even though it doesn't look nepotistic at all from the surface area. Fact is that, you know, par for the course. We saw this coming like 8 weeks ago. We called it, I think. Yeah. And just goes to show you that whatever LeBron wants, LeBron gets. And I will say, I mean, you get, is it 4 years guaranteed?
I'm assuming yes. that's the case. Yeah, it's a 4-year.
It's not 3 + 1. It's actually 4.
They can't do that with coaches. I think because of the coaching agreement, I think it is a straight 4 years.
Well, they've done it before the past 2 times.
Well, I mean, they fired Darvin Ham with the 2+2, but he still gets the 2 that he's getting paid for the next 2 years. The Lakers will be paying 2 individuals, that they had planned on coaching. One is coaching in JJ Redick and Darvin Ham, who's now assistant coach for Milwaukee Bucks. So before I bring it back over to Joe, let me hear your thoughts on, do you think this is going to help the Lakers get into the right direction? I know that I've heard your thoughts over the course of the past few weeks, but please, we've got a lot of new people here in the audience. Some are trolling, some are rejoicing, some are happy, some are sad. Your thoughts on JJ Redick? Do you think he can go ahead and lead us into a better direction?
Well, for all the trollers out there, I've got it's middle time and I've got chicken wings, so you can go suck a big one as far as I'm concerned. On behalf of all Laker fans, 17 championships and counting. For all the newcomers in the audience, it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen.
He has frozen.
Well,
okay.
Have I frozen, Gerald?
Well, you just did, but go ahead, John.
Okay. Remains to be seen. I'm not. I really don't know, and nobody else on this panel or in the chat can really qualify exactly what JJ Redick's philosophy is as coach, nor can anyone really spout what his philosophies are. So it remains to be seen whether or not he can turn this around. Like, Gerald, if you were to pick one person to turn this ship around with the roster as it is, would you have picked JJ Redick? I don't think you would have. No.
There were other options available.
Joe, would you have picked JJ Redick?
No, there were no options available.
And I wouldn't have picked him either. So, I mean, there are no hypocrites on this panel as far as his choice is concerned. The fact that remains is, while I remain skeptical, I'm going to be open-minded about this, but Joe used a very descriptive word for JJ Redick, and that was conceited. And he's been using that word for a few weeks now, and I concur. And if you don't think that he's not going to be at least a little bit conceited when it comes to schematics, what schemes they run, a little conceited about who he thinks they should pick. And by the way, hypocritical too, because watch in the next coming days, Gerald, how JJ Redick is going to effusively praise Bronny James's work ethic and his potential as a budding NBA rotational player, because what we do know now is that it's pretty much set in stone that Bronny James is going to be drafted 55th overall by the Lakers.
Yeah, I'm so thrilled. Yay. But again, it is the Lakers announcing that JJ Redick has become the new coach on a 4-year deal while Magic continues to eat the chicken wings. Joe, I know that's not what you want to hear, but you're going to hear a lot of rhetoric come from JJ Redick, a guy who is very good with the media or very used to speaking out in the media, figuring that he just covered the finals. And of course, you've heard a lot of what he's had to say on ESPN. He's always good for a media soundbite. We just got done with a coach who didn't always have the best sound bites. Let's just put it plainly out there. And I think that he'll be a lot more media savvy. If that's one thing I'm going to take from this, is that whatever good or bad the Lakers are doing at the time, at least JJ Redick will probably be a lot more careful and a lot more contrite about how he goes about saying the things he's saying to the media and to the public.
I don't give a damn about the media. All I care about is, are guys going to box out, and are they going to train to hit layups when they're being hit at the rim?
Okay.
I don't care about the media. I don't care about Bronny James. I don't care about any of these things that are irrelevant to winning championships. The media, I already told you guys about the media yesterday, how they keep nitpicking on garbage because that's all they got, because they're talentless hack pieces of garbage. So to give them attention is giving them attention. Stop doing it. You stop doing that, they'll keep doing what they're doing anyways, whether you're good or bad. So you might as well just get them out of your life. Case in point, for those who weren't around yesterday, they kept needling this Jason Tatum, upset a lot about not doing something. And it's like, dude, the guy just won a championship and you're still trying to get something, some kind of rift and things. That's what these idiots do. That's what these scumbags do. And stay away from that stuff. Stop listening to it. And if indeed things happen here that don't coincide with winning basketball, then I highly recommend you guys stop supporting this, because that's the only way you stop it.
Well, I
The
would
Lakers have no room to make any mistakes or make any concessions in this offseason.
Go ahead, Magic Man. Go ahead. You had something to say, wanted to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think, I disagree with Joe when he says that the talk about Bronny James is irrelevant. It is relevant because you have between 13 to 15 spots on a roster. And Joe said it before, is that if you're going to pick him, then you're wasting a pick. And he's right about that. Now, I understand what he means. Irrelevant in the big scheme of things is that he's not really going to help you win. That part of it is true, and that's inarguable. But the fact remains is that we saw this coming with JJ Redick, Gerald, and unfortunately, it's less than a week to go in the draft, and we pretty much know what's going to happen. They're going to trade that 7th overall pick, and they're going to draft Bronny with their only remaining pick. And so and like Joe said, you can't afford any unforced errors, and you're already making 2 less than a week after you just hired a new coach.
And that's what we have to deal with here in Lakerland, as, of course, JJ Redick does become the new head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. Joe, I'll bring it back to you once again. With the Lakers, JJ Redick, again, was not our first choice. We know as a podcaster, he has been very tight with LeBron James. I know you said you don't care about his relationship with LeBron James, but you got to figure that's partially what got him the job, is the continual pandering to try and make LeBron James happy in this situation.
Yeah, LeBron had to have some kind of communication with this next coach, in that he wasn't going to passively, aggressively, whatever you want to call it, and sabotage the relationship. LeBron James is now going to be playing with his 11th coach in what will be his 22nd season. That is really, really bad in terms of, I don't know if the word optics is the right word. It's bad for the resume. Let's just put it that way. That doesn't look good at all. And I understand that the NBA has probably the worst coaching in terms of longevity in any sport. But when you're a great player, you're supposed to be kind of in tune with the head coach. And maybe that's why LeBron hasn't had a chance to flourish without stopgaps, it seems like, every couple of years. Maybe he was in Cleveland. There's 100 excuses you could probably pull out and have it make sense, but this is obviously going to be his last coach. And if LeBron is one bad, the Lakers are one more bad decision away from almost destroying LeBron's stay in LA, even with the championship.
if the Westbrook trade was the first, this could be the second, and you all know what the third is. And the third, if the third happens, you are now telling everyone, especially Laker fans, that you are not interested in winning. You are interested in reality TV. You're interested in entertaining all those numbnuts that climax every time there's a Titantron on them during timeouts. It's always going to be a Titantron to me. I don't know why. It's just what it is.
Yes.
So if you're going to cater to this because you want
What's it called
whatever
now?
it is that you want, it's a jumbotron.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. If this is who you want to cater to, if you want to spit in the face of those who have actually gone to your parades, watched every game for years, every game, all those advertisement commercials, all that time spent discussing the game and the teams and the players and buying the Kobe's and buying the shirts and buying the hats. If you want to tell those guys like me to go eat a dick, then you can go eat one too. You have one more decision to stay away from here. We're going to wait a week to see if that comes to pass.
Well,
Yes, I would rather have drafted Brink. I would rather draft Cameron Brink.
Then Bronny James.
Correct.
All right. And on that note,
now the feminists can't come get me. So, gotcha.
She got a 9% block rate in the WNBA. It's pretty damn good in any league.
Well, not with
6'4". You can't.
torn ACL.
You cannot get away from 6'4". She's got the height, and I would see her doing more than many men basketball players at this point.
Yeah, I bet you would. Once again, it is the Lakers fast break.
I bet she could take Jalen Hood-Fino in one-on-one.
But that's not too hard, I guess, for an NBA player at this point. But JHS has been a big disappointment. And that's one thing I'll discuss with you guys next is the key has to be a player development for a coach. What is his ability to develop players? I mean, Douglas Gallagher sent me a message this morning, and he said, what do you think the prospects are for Colin Castleton? And do you think he has a leg up over any center or big guy that the Lakers draft or bring in? And my answer was, your answer is yes, Joe, but my answer is I'm not so sure because he is 24 years old. I know he barely made the fringes of the NBA. He looked outclassed when he was on the court. That has to change if he's actually going to be able to stick in the league. He says he's working on a three-point jumper. That's great. But again, it's about what he does supposedly well has to translate on a higher level. And these are the guys, him, a Maxwell Lewis, a JHS, all these young guys, Joe, along with, develop even more, Austin Reeves, trying to find the best platform for success for all these guys. That has to be a real key to the success or not so success for JJ Redick.
Well, I'm not going to bank on those players being integral parts of the team this year. If they do, cool. Castleton has potential based off of how they acquired him, and from what I've seen in spurts, there is a talent there that you can tap into. It's going to come down to his preparation and his training and his ability to continue to get better. That's if you want to look at someone who's a free agent pickup and you see a little bit of positiveness, that's a good thing. How it translates later, we don't know. But first year as a non-drafted player, I thought there was some spark there. We're gonna see if there's gonna be some advancement there. As far as his worth, compared to what would be coming in, well, I don't think that's fair to say. Well, let's just say they draft Edie at 17. Let's say they do that. Well, I'm gonna expect Edie being at 17 to be more of a integral part of the rotation, being a pick that high versus someone who was a free agent last year. So that's kind of how I look at it. I look at status and how you came in. That matters because these draft picks are very, very, very precious. If you don't hit on these picks, you just go further and further back, especially when you're up against the cap. You don't have any room to go get anyone of substance, and you keep messing up when you do. So your only bet right now is to hit on whatever pick you got, especially higher picks, first round picks. And of course, if you do have some developmental players that show promise, try and coach them up as best you can, check in on them, make sure that they're putting in the work, and hopefully they can be guys that can make a difference, because the Lakers have had those guys. They've had Austin Reeves. They've had Alex Caruso. They've had these guys, non-drafted guys, become integral part of that rotation and integral part of their team.
Once again, it is the Lakers Fast Break. It is Joe Sorrell along with Sean. Call him Frank Dick Grice. It is me, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much again for watching and listening. He still hasn't changed it from when you changed it, Joe. It is, of course, Gerald Glassford. Thanks so much for watching and listening. Sean, I bring it back over to you.
That's a great name. That's a great name. That sounds like a 1989 detective movie on Cinemax.
That's why I kept it.
Sean, I will ask you this, my friend. When it comes down to it, again, player development is a key for JJ Redick's success as a Lakers coach. There are players that he should be at the forefront of trying to get the best out of them. I mentioned some of the young players already. Your thoughts on him as someone who could potentially be able to unlock some of the things that Darvin Ham could out of these guys?
You know, Gerald, that's a very good question. And let's kind of whittle it down a little bit here. Try and keep it concise because there's only 24 hours in a day. Out of all the young players on the roster, Gerald, who would you say isn't fully cooked?
Who isn't fully cooked?
In regards to the rest, you haven't seen the whole recipe yet. All the ingredients aren't there yet. JHS, but you know, we kind of know who he is at this point. Jared Vanderbilt's fully cooked. You know exactly what he can and can't do. Joe mentioned Castleton. That's another guy who's not fully cooked. So you're not really sure what he can do, what he can't yet. Rui, 27, he is who he is. Austin Reeves is who he is. Not a lot of options, Gerald. We're kind of whittling
if we
it
do
down.
retain him. Max Christie, if we do retain him. Homelander, thank you for mentioning him. We almost forget him time to time, but Max Christie does have most likely the team on a $2.5 million will retain his service.
Is Max Christie going to ever be able to shoot 37+% from three in the league, Gerald?
He has to. With his build, he has to.
I'm asking you, from what you've seen, do you think he's capable of sustaining that level?
Not right away, but I think he can get to that point. Maybe with a shooter that was a guy that was a hired gun, a hired shooter. Maybe.
Fair enough. So
because that's the one thing he could do. The one thing JJ could do in the league was shoot. So
yes, fair enough. So if you bring Max Christie back, then you're putting a lot of faith in JJ Redick as a former sharpshooter to help take Max up level. I'm skeptical about that. I think I'm
He's a
with
career
you.
41% shooter, Joe. So you tell me. Sorry, Sean, because Joe is like doing this. So I'm like, he's a career 41% shooter. So you tell me if he could shoot.
I never was afraid of JJ Redick as a player, and we saw him one time in the biggest stage in the NBA, and all I saw was clanks when it mattered.
Okay. I'm just
saying. That's irrelevant. That's irrelevant to the head coaching job, and that needs to be an important part of that. There was a time when Wilt Chamberlain once was quoted. I don't know if it's 100% true, but I heard this. But he said that Pat Riley was one of the worst players he's ever seen. And we all
Steve Kerr was one of the best shooters when left open in NBA history. And don't think that Klay Thompson, Steph Curry weren't conceited enough to ask him his opinion about mechanics, about certain spots on the floor, certain timing. I mean, these guys are warriors and students of the game. So it's not as if Steve Kerr got there and they weren't asking him advice about certain things. So I think it's, and I'm not a fan of this hire, but I think it's disrespectful to basically say that JJ Redick really it has no relevancy to teaching guys how to shoot when that was his main job in the NBA. That was what he was paid to do. Chris Paul's objective on the floor was to find the open man, and if the pick and roll wasn't there, it was either JJ Redick or Lou Williams who got the ball in their hands, Gerald, for the Clippers. And quite frankly, let's be honest, the Orlando Magic didn't really have a true point guard. I mean, their point guard was Jameer Nelson and Rafer Alston. Rafer Alston was basically a scorer in a point guard body. He really didn't know how to run a team. And Jameer Nelson, bless him, was a pretty decent player. But again, he's a big-bodied shooting guard who was kind of put into a position to play point guard. So JJ Redick got a lot of opportunities with the ball in his hands. But as Joe said, when the final came around, he didn't shoot well. The Orlando Magic one quarterly missed layup away from making that a series, and it had nothing to do with JJ Redick.
So there we have it. The Lakers have hired JJ Redick as their next head coach on a 4-year deal. We don't know the money specifics as of yet. As soon as we find out, we'll hopefully be able to try and bring it to you. Joe, I know that Laker Tom has called him a future legacy head coach, and so he must be doing backflips right now up in Northern California. I know that for me, again, he's just a podcaster, so what he hopefully can bring with his knowledge of the game will hopefully translate into wins on the court, but it's still about the personnel that's out there, Joe. And I know that the Boston Celtics, scum of the earth organization that they are, did win number 18 based off of a 3-and-D model concept. The Lakers tried at several times last year or in recent times a 5-out offense, and it really didn't go over as well as hoped. So I ask you, Joe, exactly what can he bring as far as an offense that will take best use of whatever assets that we do have on the team?
I think I said this at the beginning of the show. You need to use Anthony Davis in a way he's never been used before.
Mm-hmm.
And that means you set up the offense you have to set up the offense so that the defense that you're playing is in constant stress over dealing with someone like Anthony Davis. And then you have LeBron James, who can still get to the basket at will when he's got a step in front of him. And of course, use your 3-point assets. use your 3-point assets. 3-point shooters, which means you got to bring back D'Angelo Russell because there's no other option, not only talent wise, not only usage wise, but also business wise. You have to bring in someone in the summer that can also play with that type of offense, whether it's spreading the offense, whether it's being able to crash the boards. Right now, the Lakers need to spread the offense and get the ball moving and set AD as a constant threat for an 82-game season and playoffs. And then you have to have players that can spell these guys as well a little bit.
According to Jovan, well, I just wanted to mention, Joe, this might not make you feel any better. According to Jovan Buha, the deal is in the neighborhood of $8 million per season.
Oh my God.
Sources. So there you
How's
go.
it coach a game in the NBA? He's getting $8 million. Wow.
It's better than 67.
Gerald, it should also be noted, the head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers isn't
Jay, yes,
Dr. Quinn,
do it.
Isn't Dr. Quinn
Jay.
medicine woman? Okay. Mm-hmm. When the season started, Jared Vanderbilt was unhealthy, Gabe Vincent was unhealthy, LeBron James was unhealthy. The only Laker that they could rely on all year was the very, very mercurial when it comes to health, Gerald, Anthony Davis, and we're not going to see that season again. I agree with Gerald 100%. Lightning strikes in the same place twice, but not when it comes to Anthony Davis and injury history. It's just it's an inevitability.
It's irrelevant whether it's inevitable or not. It's your only shot at winning. You go all the way in. If he gets injured, then you don't go into that situation.
This team hasn't been able to stay. This team hasn't been able to stay healthy for the 2 years.
No, they were healthy last year. They were healthy last year.
Jared Vanderbilt was not healthy to start the season.
I'm talking about the main
Vincent
guys. Jared Vanderbilt is freaking less than a role player to me.
Well, then JJ Redick, get ready because you're going to have the same issues that Darvin Ham did if that's the case.
Darvin Ham's issue is he couldn't adjust to anything. He couldn't adjust to any scheme, any quarter, any half. His team was
it remains to be seen. It remains to be seen whether or not the pompous ass can do that as well. But we will see. But there is a problem with injuries with this team. So you cheapen out on the training staff. You cheapen out on physiotherapists, and this is what you get. That's what you got. To start last season, there was this whole, and we can laugh about it now because it was funny at the time, still is to me, that LeBron James minutes were going to be reduced. Well, that happened for exactly one game out of 82. Now, I don't think JJ Redick is going to make the same dumbass proclamations that Darvin Ham did, that LeBron's minutes are going to be restricted. Anthony Davis is going to average 6 threes a game. And by the way, I don't care if it's JJ Redick coaching, Steve Kerr, Dale Curry, Sabrina Ionescu. There's no way Anthony Davis is going to be a 40% 3-point shooter. So we're going to see about what Redick's offensive philosophies will be, Gerald, because this team, at best, is a bottom third offensive team. Even if they make a little upgrade. I mean, you had D'Angelo Russell on the Lakers last year. He hit the most threes ever in a Lakers season. And where were the Lakers ranked, Gerald? I believe they were 18th or 19th. At best, offensively. So it doesn't matter if D'Angelo Russell comes back. Hey, that's great. You're still going to be a 19th or 20th offensive team because LeBron's a year older. You have nobody who can spell him at the point guard position because Gabe Vincent is awful. JJ JHS is
Awful.
I don't even. Yeah, I guess that'd be the best descriptive word for him as a point guard. So you have nobody that can spell LeBron to create offensive opportunities. Like what I think exactly what we're getting at, Gerald, is the Lakers can shine that turd all they want. It's still a turd. And that's kind of what we're looking at with the offensive repertoire that this team has. It's going to have to be relying on defense and opportunities in transition. As Gerald talked about, that's what they did with Vogel. Although Vogel was a tactician defensively, and LeBron was still relatively in his late prime as an offensive player. But as Gerald notes, it's because you were a great defensive team and you took advantage of those opportunities in transition. You were able to shore up a lot of those shortcomings and work around the margins there. And as Gerald has stated, since you got rid of Vogel and since you made the Westbrook trade, you've eliminated a lot of your opportunities to build around what helped you win a championship to begin with. Now Pelinka's turned around and he's given the keys to the car to an offensive-minded coach again. Who, by the way, Gerald, we have no idea what this person's philosophy is, which kind of fits Rob Pelinka because he doesn't know what his philosophy is.
But we'll find out, I'm sure. Of course, it is the Lakers fast break. The Lakers have just through various sources, including Adrian Wojnarowski, who reported it first. I will give him credit from ESPN. Did sign JJ Redick to a 4-year deal, which Jovan Buha of The Athletic is reporting at $8 million per year or thereabouts. Joe, I want to ask you, so that leaves the building of the roster now the main question, as Rob Pelinka's job in hiring a head coach and then now is done, whereas they build the staff there. The building of the roster is equally, if not more important at this point. So your thoughts, I know that there was a great comment by Homelander, exactly where do we go now on building? He said shooters, but I'm going to build on this. Players, good players. How do we bring in more good players that we need to build a better roster going forward on such a limited, budgetary status, because of the fact that we're in the tax or seemingly going to go well into the tax with a extension of or LeBron James and D'Angelo Russell.
I haven't acclimated myself to the second apron of the salary cap yet. I still need to sit down and really, but common sense says there aren't a lot of assets that they have. And the only way they're going to get a deal that would be astronomical would be if the other team or teams do them a solid. Because the only ones that are going to send any talent their way are likely players that are making too much money to be able to get. Guys like Zach LaVine, it's just he makes too much money. You'd be giving up too much good depth. I'm not saying Rui and Austin are integral parts of the Laker lore, but it's still there are little cogs that do help. And if you lose those guys just to get one big name, then you know, and then you're dealing with the injury thing with guys like Zach LaVine. If he gets an injury, now your depth is even worse. It's just they're in a very bad spot. They would need a favor. They would need a team to give them the deal and let them win the deal. I don't know who that is. I don't know if that's possible. Guys like Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, those guys are not going to fetch just fodder from your team. They're going to fetch a lot of drafts, lot of draft picks, and a lot of returning talent. And the Lakers don't really have a lot of returning talent, and their draft picks are somewhat valuable, but you know the one this year isn't. So,
well, go ahead.
the Lakers are going to have to. There's three options for them. No, sorry, there's four things that have to happen if they're not able to swing the talent in. Number one, they have to hit at 17 and a little bit in the second round if possible. If they don't hit in the second round, it's okay. You know, it is what it is. It's a 55 pick. It's a crapshoot. It's worse than a crapshoot. It's trying to get double zeros on the on a roulette table. It's very, very hard to hit on the second. You have to hit with the mid-level exception, and I mean hit as in you get somebody like Derek White at that number, somebody that integral to your team. And then, of course, I'm going to go back to this over and over again, folks, because a lot of people still don't understand the business side of this. You have to re-sign D'Angelo Russell. If he gets $30 million 4 years, okay, you got really, really messed up on that one, and there's nothing you could have done about it. But or actually you could have at the deadline, but you didn't. But that one, at least I can sit back and go, look, you got completely derailed on that one. There was no way you could pay that guy $30 million for 4 years. But if they don't sign that guy and he gets a deal for like 2 years, 40 million or something like that, then you have to understand that you lose a starting point guard who is a shooter you absolutely need, and is someone who can win games for you, especially during the regular season. You have to keep that guy, and ultimately, he is a piece. If you do get a disgruntled star between now and the trade deadline next year, which, by the way, I'm not saying anything here. I want everyone to watch what's going on in Milwaukee the first couple months. There's something that's been weird over there for the last year and change with Giannis. So you have to and the Lakers have made their bones in that world for decades. You have to be prepared for that. So that's that. It's either a team is going to hand the Lakers the guy they need without a lot of capital, or the Lakers ride what they can control, and you have to hit on what you can control in the draft, and you have to sign the necessary players. Otherwise, this team may be worse next year than it was this year, because LeBron is a year older, AD is a year older, and those guys might not stay healthy, right? And they might not go 76 games and 71 games. So now it becomes an even worse process.
I wanted to put
Jared,
up. Well, I just wanted to say is I wanted to post this. Actually, this was posted just after the hiring. This is from Bobby Marks of ESPN. This is the actual. It just gives you everyone out there a broad overview of what's going on with the Lakers and their options and where their projected salary might be. But go ahead, Magic Man, munching on those wings. Hope they're delicious. You're looking like you're very heavenly with the light glow over you today. What are your thoughts on what you see here at this broad brush of the Los Angeles Lakers when you look at it? Any signs of hope for Lakers fans, or reality is going to set in really quick?
Chicken wings are good. Lemon pepper wet.
Okay.
I have a bold. I usually don't go out on a limb, Gerald, but I'm going to go out on a limb here.
Okay.
Okay. The Orlando Magic have a lot of money to spend this offseason. One of two players is going to end up on the Orlando Magic. It's either going to be D'Angelo Russell or it's going to be Klay Thompson. Okay. One or the other will be on the Orlando Magic. And if that doesn't happen, I will never appear on the Lakers Fast Break again. But
I'm doing a lot of that lately.
I'm very well. No, I was right to take off the mask because they did hire JJ Redick. So suck it, Alan.
No, he's just saying that with the glow that you look like a medieval Jesus painting.
Oh, a medieval Jesus painting. Oh,
yes,
wow.
Because you have the heavenly glow behind you. But
looks like fog is rolled into your apartment.
Yes. Also here today, one half of the Lakerholics guys, 1/3, I should say. Don't want to leave out Michael. It is, of course, Jamie Sweet. Jamie, the coach has been hired. It is now up to him and Rob Pelinka to build this team. Your thoughts on JJ Redick getting a 4-year deal worth around $8 million per year?
Yeah, rad. That's great. Wonderful. Wonderful news. The worst kept secret is now out. So that's done. There's just going to be a really steep learning curve, and there's just no getting around that. You don't just walk into things like this and magically know all the rules and have all the tools in your toolbox if you haven't done this job before. And for everybody who says, "Oh, well, he played in the NBA," yeah, that's great. If I work, I don't know. If I clean, there's just no correlation. One is not the other. When he was a player in the NBA, he had a role. So he sat and he waited to hear what his role was in the game, what his assignment was, what the differences in our read reacts were going to be based on the coverage that we were going to see that night. And then he went out and did that. He did not lead. And leading and being involved with are two extremely, extremely different things. I mean, Gerald, you lead the podcast. I'm involved with the podcast. You are the leader. I am but a pawn in your machinations. I wouldn't begin to. So I just think that there's such an incredible learning curve. And then for the people who say, "Oh, well, they're going to find a top-notch assistant," one of the things that happens very quickly when you're dealing with professionals, especially people who are elite, especially people who put in tons of time that nobody sees into working on their craft, working on their bodies, getting themselves ready to play, is if they don't think they're talking to the most important person in the room, they move on. They move on fast. This is what happens with a lot of coaches. You get a top-notch assistant, suddenly that guy's coaching, for lack of a better word. The other guy sits on the bench. A little graphic shows up when they're, head coach. He's listed as the coach when Lawrence Towner announces who's playing and stuff, but it ends there. So if you think that and I don't care that LeBron and JJ have a cute little TV show together or broadcast or whatever it is, it doesn't matter now. Those good times are officially over. That's water under the bridge, and it's not coming back, because now you're either helping or in the way of LeBron's legacy. And that is the fact. So if you are not helping, he will go to the next guy and he will do it. It won't matter what you did before. Ask J.R. Smith, ask Dwayne Wade, ask the entire city of Cleveland, ask the entire city of Miami. LeBron will move on, and he'll move on fast. And he won't look back. He won't be like, "Oh, did I hurt JJ's feelings when I did that? Was this the right thing for me to do?" None of that will matter. And so there is no hotter seat in professional coaching than the Los Angeles Lakers, especially right now. There might not be, other than Detroit. Okay, there's one more dysfunctional front office for sure than the Lakers in Detroit. And then we might be next. And on top of that, it doesn't matter what LeBron's detractors say or what reality says. LeBron thinks he's amazing and that he can play at a very high level. And what we've seen is that however impressive it is, it's not enough. And it is impressive, but it's still not enough. And I don't think a coach who has coached 9-year-olds is going to be able to overcome that. I will be happy and enthusiastic to be proved wrong on every single point that I've just brought up. I won't mind. I won't take it poorly. I'll be ecstatic. I don't think I'm going to be wrong on every single point that I just brought up.
Well, I'm sure Laker Tom will dispute you.
I'm sure a lot of people dispute me. That's fine.
And as we saw on that discussion that I posted a snippet of the other day that you can catch on Lakerholics Spotlight, available every weekend from the guys at Lakerholics.com. Please go ahead and check out the nice discussions that Jamie and Laker Tom have, especially about Laker Tom's future legacy head coach in JJ Redick. Joe, I want to bring it back to you. When it comes right down to it, JJ is the head coach, but I talked about his media savvy, but there is that one thing that still sticks in our craw is his disparaging comments to past generations. So I know that's probably something he's never going to live down, but maybe he'll learn from it going forward with better phrasing and better, ways of handling it going forward as far as the media is concerned, and his opinions, keeping his opinions maybe a little bit more under wraps going forward. But he is now the head coach. I'll ask Sean something here on the salary here part of it, because I really think that's an issue. But your thoughts, because of the fact that he had said what he had said in previous times about the players from previous generations, do you think any of that will be held against him or will hold him back in any way when he coaches?
They're not from anyone from the current generation, I don't think. I don't know. Do players of today give a crap about what happened in the 50s and 60s?
Most likely not.
Or the 90s even? I don't think they're bothered by that. They're going to be bothered by a coach that undermines them, probably, because they are pansies. Are they going to get butthurt when he does yell at them for not getting back on defense? These are the type of things that, as long as Sean doesn't, make noises while he's eating, and I'm trying to talk, I can say it doesn't matter right now. It's going to matter in January on a back-to-back in week 2 of January, when everyone is tired, whining. Someone might have had a spat with their spouse. Someone might have had some issues with something going on with a sibling, and then they don't get back on defense, or they don't do a play right, and all of a sudden JJ gets on them, and then what's the reaction there? I don't mind a little fire. I don't mind a little going back and forth. I think that's healthy in sports. But will it linger? Will it linger? Will they look at JJ and go, oh, he's just a podcaster? I don't think they would if he knows what he's doing. And I don't know if he knows what he's doing. I don't know if he's going to be able to teach players yet on how to box out and how to pay attention. A lot of that stuff is more a player thing. If a coach has to tell you that kind of stuff, I'm kind of suspect on that. However, what the coach is supposed to do is teach his players how to adjust positioning based off of what is happening. If it's a drop 5, if you're playing against a spread offense, if you're playing against post offenses, post defenses, these are the things we saw nothing of in the last coaching regime. Nothing. All the people that love Phil Handy and whomever was there, folks, if I'm an assistant coach and I'm saying, and I don't know, maybe the guy ignored Phil Handy, for all I know. We don't know that. But let's just say he didn't ignore him. No one is talking about the things that matter. Is Austin Reeves capable of boxing out? Is Rui capable of boxing out? Is Anthony Davis capable of listening to a coach that is telling him, you need to post here when this particular look is coming, and they need to swing really quick to this area as soon as they combat that. And then when they combat that, you need to go back to this area. Look, we saw the triangle defense with Shaquille O'Neal. We saw it with Kobe Bryant. We're talking about play. Well, Shaquille, the triangle offense was kind of made for a player like Shaquille and Scottie Pippen. So I know that helped, but it wasn't really necessary for someone like a Kobe Bryant or a Michael Jordan. But what did it do? It enhanced everything around them. They were still able to do what they did, but it enhanced everything around them. That's what the coach needs to do. And if he can't do that with Anthony Davis, who's still a two-way star, and then hopefully he's able to get some talent and not worried about babysitting some Hallmark story, well, we're going to find out. I'm going to give him a chance. I got asked, am I going to stop watching the Lakers if they hire JJ Redick? No, that has nothing to do with. I know what's going on. There was no choice, but the way this ran, I was surprised about Dan Hurley. I said, hey, good job thinking outside the box. But then, of course, we were upset that they didn't do the home run deal. I'm like, well, why did you do all this if you were just going to offer him pretty much the same money that he was going to make likely in Connecticut anyways? It was kind of like a waste of time. But then, of course, we saw in the last few days what was going on with the intricacies of that. And at this point, we're like, whoa, okay. Well, I think we might have dodged a bullet there. And Sean, just relax. I'm going to finish here. You keep getting closer to the camera. What are you going to eat it? You already ate your wings. Relax.
He's very heavenly right now, Joe.
So
God favors me.
So now you got no coaching stalwarts in this offseason. There really wasn't anyone out there, really. So you go with this wild card. We're going to see what happens. But you need to give them talent if you want to win a championship. If you want them to get a 6 seed instead of a 7, okay. Maybe a 5th seed, okay. But if you want to win a championship with JJ Redick and LeBron and AD as being the 2 pillars, you better get those guys some talent, and then we'll see what JJ Redick is about.
Sean, I want to bring it back to you as we'll start to close this out. I want to hear some final thoughts from Jamie as well on this. But Sean, this kind of mirrors what we saw with Frank Vogel, where he wasn't the first choice of the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, you're going to hear that he was the number 1 choice all along by Shams Charania, who's already said that, and supposedly probably Adrian Wojnarowski too. But when you go, you're so thrilled with this choice that you're going after that you go and decide to pitch someone across the country to come over here to do so. It doesn't tell me you're fully satisfied with this leading front runner as he has supposedly been all along. So with that in mind, Sean, you give him a contract. Do you think the contract that they offered him initially, if they did, was lower before the Dan Hurley, or if they ever talked money? Do you think they ever talked money? And if they did before the Dan Hurley saga began, do you think it's gotten higher after? You see what I'm saying?
Dang, Gerald. Yeah, no, that's a really good question again. Look, Joe, you're being a prick for like no reason. When I first started doing this show, all the guys did was complain about how dark my house was. And now it's too bright. It's 45 degrees here. It's hotter in Toronto than it is in Vegas.
This is true.
It is. It is. Everybody knows it's true. And
your mic part and
whatever, like a goat. Yes, everything is better.
You're just honoring Laker Tom with the Laker Tom lean in, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
So
yes,
don't worry about that.
Absolutely.
No, I'm honoring the Sean Grice lean in.
Okay. Let him finish. Come on, guys. Let him finish. Go ahead, Sean.
And I never said anything about your lighting, by the way, and your beautiful drapes.
It's one of the ex-girlfriend did that. Fuck off.
Hey,
did you have to do that? It was a good. All right. Go ahead. At least I know what it is. 104. Okay, go ahead, my friend. Go for it.
Thank you. I would say that that's a good question, Gerald. I would say it probably be around the same amount. I would guess his agent was probably able to negotiate a little bit more. I mean, that's kind of the going right now for head coach in the NBA. The last year Phil Jackson ever coached, he made 12, and now JJ Redick's making 8. Which goes to show you, how inflation works. in the NBA.
How much was Darvin Ham's? 5?
It was like 5, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you've given JJ Redick almost a 40% pay increase and hasn't coached a game. That's a really good question. I would say you're right. I would say it's probably a little bit more than originally what was negotiated. I'm sure his agent was able to get a little bit more after the Hurley fiasco. And but I mean, that's kind of the going rate now. I mean, I think Will Hardy makes around the same in Utah. I believe Mark Daigneault makes, close to that as well in Oklahoma City, just as comps. So that's going right now for head coach in the NBA. I mean, JJ Redick is 8 to coach the game. What do you think Tom Thibodeau is going to ask for now for the New York Knicks? 15? 17?
Going to ask for some big money, absolutely.
15 sounds about right, in my opinion.
Yeah. If you're paying JJ Redick $8 million on the open market, I'm worth at least twice that much.
It's going to be interesting to see how that's put out there. But yeah, that's there's inflation, and then there's that's above the rate of inflation right there for what happened.
Yeah, we should call it Lakeflation. The Lakers inflation. The Lakeflation you have to pay.
But again, it's advantageous for him because it came on the heels of what happened with Dan Hurley. I'm like, oh, well, you're going to offer him that. You need to offer me this. Jamie, I'm going to close out the thoughts with you, my friend. Again, we have a 4-year deal set for JJ Redick with the Los Angeles Lakers. Your thoughts on this, my friend, as we take into a new era with JJ Redick? Ultimately, his failure and success depends on one individual, and it's not LeBron James, in my opinion. No, it's Rob Pelinka. Your thoughts on the future of the Los Angeles Lakers under JJ Redick? That might be it.
I have a lot. I'm actually writing 5 things. I'm doing all now. I mean, look, it's not all. There is a world, right? There's an alternate Earth where JJ Redick has what it takes, right? Everybody talks about how he's charismatic on TV. Honestly, I just think he's like quiet. Mark Jackson is charismatic. Jeff Van Gundy is charismatic. JJ Redick's kind of there. So I don't. There's a lot of the things that people see, and I think it's because of the podcast. And it's just amazing to me that is basically probably the basis of what the Lakers made their decision on. Was that this guy has a really nice podcast. There's just so much wrong in my mind with that. I think I understand the idea that there wasn't like a generational coach that we could hire, right? Greg Popovich didn't quit the job and be like, I'm looking at you, LA. None of those things were going to happen. It feels like the Suns waited to fire Monty until they were pretty sure the Lakers had their coach in hand, because I think that, I mean, for all of his flaws, and I think not having a job right now is probably the best thing for Monty Williams, the human being. That he's going to get paid a lot of money to do a lot of nothing for the next couple of years, and that's probably just fine for him and his mental well-being, because he's been through a lot. I still think he's a better candidate for the job than JJ Redick is. I feel the same way about Atkinson, Borrego, anybody who's actually been in a locker room, been through an NBA season with a team, been part of a coaching staff at the level that he's coaching at, even the NCAA level, right? Like, okay, it's not the NBA. I get it. You have still led people in the toughest of situations to the highest point you can reach with a team. This is not the case with our current head coach. So there's a whole and my last there's no end to the thoughts, but what has JJ Redick ever said that gives anybody indication of what he's actually going to do? He never talks about a system. He breaks plays down with LeBron and says, this is cool, this works, I would do this, da-da-da-da. But this is not in the moment. This is not in seconds after it happened. And like Joe was saying, it's not, after you've yelled at somebody and they've gotten their feelings all up, they're all up in their feelings now, and they're like ignoring you because they don't like you anymore, because that's the world we get to live in. And so there's just so many more questions than there are answers. And in fact, I would argue there's almost zero answers. If anything anybody wants to project onto this situation is just that. It is a personal projection. It is an opinion. It's a hope. It's a wish. It's a dream tied to a shooting star riding the back of a unicorn. However you want to describe that. It is not a fact. It is not a point of record that he has done this or that. He's talked about things, kind of. He's got a lot of work to do with AD, because he didn't list AD as one of the best 20 best or 15 best defenders in the NBA, which is astounding. So I have to say that I just think this is another yes man coach. That's my real opinion. I really think that the Lakers don't want somebody who pushes back publicly. So somebody like Monty, right? Monty Williams would not care what the Lakers wanted him to do. He would say and run his team the way he wants to run it. And I think that was the problem that the new GM had in Phoenix, or Detroit rather. And I think that was the problem Matt Ishiba had with him in Phoenix, that I want you to – all these guys come from a business world where the guy at the top says, you do, and then you go do. But that's not how it is in sport. Everybody has their own little baronies and their fiefdoms, and you have to kind of let them run it because they know what's going on there. The king doesn't always know what's going on in the kingdom. So, and this is absolutely true with Jeannie. She has no idea what's going on anyway, I feel like, half the time. So I just foresee a really, really, really rocky beginning to this. And the Lakers don't really have time for a rocky beginning. LeBron doesn't have time for a rocky beginning. So if this gets off to a bad start, like a Mike Brown bad start, you really better have an incredibly high quality head assistant, lead assistant, whatever the title is, because that person is going to step into a giant city built on the feces of mismanagement and poor choices from the last 5 years. And there's no getting away from this. There's no way to sugarcoat it or put it really any differently. Frank Vogel didn't trade for Russell Westbrook. Frank Vogel didn't watch his half of his roster get decimated by injuries the season after the bubble. Darvin Ham didn't like empower his player. The problem is Rob Pelinka. And if Rob's in charge, it's going to be a problem, because I don't think Rob can close the deal. Rob doesn't close deals. Rob is able to clean up his own mess every once in a while. That's the height of the Rob Pelinka era. He can kind of wipe his own butt on occasion. But sometimes he'll call you from the bathroom and say, can you help me? That's what my kid does every once in a while when she doesn't know what's going on. Can you help me? Yeah, you're 6.5. I can help you now. Rob is not 6.5. He is, in theory, a grown man who knows what he's doing. That last point is obviously out the window. So I think there's just going to be an incredible learning curve. I think that unless I'm curious to see how the schedule is. My guess is we'll probably play Boston on night one of the because they're going to set up all the drama, right? They're gonna, it'll either be Boston or I don't know, maybe somebody on the West Coast, I guess, but on the Western Conference rather. But it's going to be bad. It's going to be, I like Joe said, I'm not like rooting for him to fail. I'm rooting for the team to succeed. I'm rooting for him to win, but I can't just, suppress or ignore the writing I see on the wall. Like I'm not going to do it. Sorry if people are hoping to hear unicorns and rainbows, but that's not my MO. If you want.
It never has been. So
no, I'm not going to sugarcoat things. Like there's so many challenges.
Nor should you.
Yeah, well, there's just so many challenges that are impossible to ignore unless you just look at the glass and say, look, it's full, and ignore what is actually in the glass. Like nothing works this way. There's no world, no other job where you can have literally zero experience and someone say, you fix my house, man off the street. Do you need a hammer? I have a hammer. And no tools? Don't worry. I have some tools in my garage. Hopefully they're the tools you need. I don't know. This is where the Lakers are at. There's a contractor who's going to rebuild the house with no tools, no experience, and good luck to him.
It's like Spicoli wrecking the car in Ridgemont High and saying, yeah, my dad has tools at home. I could fix this.
Right. Cool, bro. Cool.
So I leave the final words for Joe. Joe, you have been saying that whoever coach they hire, it's only going to be 2 years anyways, because Rob Pelinka will be fired within 2 years if the team doesn't do well. And then that's going to probably leave whatever coach that comes along with it probably out the door as well. Is that still your mindset now that JJ Redick has been hired? If it doesn't go well?
Yes. If they don't put the right talent together in the next couple of years with LeBron and AD, he'll be a 2-year coach. As far as them firing Rob Pelinka, Jeannie would have to make the decision that she stay away from the Lakers operation, and allow whomever she would hire to run this team as if they were the owner. I don't know if she's capable of doing that, because if she doesn't do that, she will continue to lose. She will continue to hire the wrong people. Therefore, at some point, she'll get to that age where she's like, I don't need this in my life. And if you want to bequeath this to Joey and Jesse, good luck even more. Those guys are not capable of running an NBA franchise either. Might be good scouts, might be good foot soldiers, but running a team like the LA Lakers is not even the same as running another NBA team like a Charlotte or New Orleans or an Orlando. It's a completely different beast. Expectations are the least of the problems. And there's going to be an understanding of where the focus is here within the next few weeks, possibly by next week. It's coming. We're going to know whether they're serious about winning championships or not.
And on that note, I want to thank you so much for watching, listening. Truly appreciate everyone out there. The breaking news again: Adrian Wojnarowski was the first report that JJ Redick is the new head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers. So for Joe Sorrell from SimBlades with a Y.com, Jamie Sweet from LakerHolics.com, and the ethereal Frank Dick Cross. We'll be back today with more good stuff, good interviews, and tonight we may even do a late show as well. But we want to thank you so much for watching this and truly appreciate it. Everyone, have yourselves a great day. And again, JJ Redick is the new head coach of the Los Angeles Lakers on this breaking news episode of the Lakers Fast Break Podcast.